Good evening, everybody, and thanks as always for joining us here on Speed Racing Network. We got the Healthcare Billing Incorporated pre-race show for you here tonight. I'm Greg Olenek, Brandon Domain with me as always. Brandon, we're out in the desert at the newly updated Phoenix. We're going to have some good action here tonight.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be real interesting. Not a whole lot of time for these guys to kind of brush up on this new layout ever since it got reconfigured a couple weeks ago, and obviously we had the cutoff race last week. So this is going to be real interesting on who was able to spend time the past few days to be able to kind of familiarize with this new layout.
Yeah, it's going to be a really fun race, seeing who does have this new layout down, and I'm sure we're going to see some familiar faces out in front tonight. But there you see it. It's the week one action of the round of 10. Just had the cutoff race last week at Indianapolis, so some of those nerves are gone for some of these drivers, but now it's time to get into the top 5 to be able to run for that championship prize that we're going to talk about here shortly. But we got 110 laps for you with one faster pair as always.
And that faster pair, we talk about it every week, really critical on this first race of a playoff round. That could be all too imperative there. You get into some early trouble, get that faster pair, get right back out there, and try to save yourself from some of the results that we saw for a couple guys on Thursday and Sunday in the first race for Xfinity and Cup, where they kind of put themselves behind the 8-ball real early. So these truck guys got that one kind of mulligan in their back pocket at least, but in a race like this with what we saw last year, all the cautions, that could be a big deal tonight, that one faster pair.
Oh, for sure. But now let's go ahead and move on and just quickly gloss over our league details here as we always do. It's a 20-week fixed setup league. One faster pair like we just talked about. These drivers are paying $5 a week to get in on weekly and season payouts. $300 going to that first place champion. We got 5-person teams here at SRN as well, and they're battling in their own separate playoff for $100 for that team championship prize.
Yeah, so we have week one for the individual side, but also for the team side. That bracket got whittled down to our final 4, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But real exciting, got a whole lot going on that we can talk about this week to make this even more interesting on a track. We can see about 5 wide racing at times.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and quickly just talk about what these guys are racing for tonight at Phoenix. In first place, going to triple that entry fee, going to come home with $15 in their pocket. Second place, going to get $10, and third through fifth, going to get that entry fee back. But the big prize that these boys are racing for is going to be the season payouts. And here we're going to have them right on our screen. First place, like I said, going to come away with $300. Second place, going to get $150. Third, going to get $90. Fourth, going to get $60. And if you make that final 5 race in Atlanta, you're guaranteed at least $40, which is essentially 8 races of entry fees there. But now we're also paying 6th through 8th, so those guys are still going to have something to race for as well. 6th going to get 30, 7th going to get 20, and 8th going to get $10.
And real nice for these drivers here in the round of 10. They know that they got an 8 out of 10 shot to walk away with some season payout money in the next 4 races by the time we finish up in Atlanta. So you're sitting pretty at this point. We also got the Tier 2 championship going on. We can talk about all that tonight. But a lot of money on the line for these guys here that are sitting in a really good spot to be walking away with some of it now.
Yeah, so we're going to figure out who our final drivers are in this playoff format as the weeks go on, and maybe that first place champion might be fixing to spend some of that money on maybe some beer, and that's what we're going to be talking about here in this Beer of the Week segment brought to us by Beer Street Journal.
Just when you thought every weird alcoholic drink had been invented, think again. This week's Beer of Street Journal Beer of the Week isn't even a beer at all. It's a pair of vodkas that are being released next week by Arby's. Yes, that Arby's. The fast food restaurant Arby's. Well, their fries are really good too, and those fries are the inspiration behind these vodkas. This special edition vodka is infused with crinkle and curly fry flavor, so Arby's fans who are of legal drinking age can responsibly enjoy their menu from bag to bottle. Just imagine a roast beef sandwich, a large order of fries, and a Bloody Mary made with Arby's Curly Fry Vodka. Well, that can be a reality starting November 18th when the special edition bottles go on sale. So don't miss out on Arby's Vodka. The Beer of the Week is brought to you by BeerStreetJournal.com, the leading online publication for craft beer reviews. Go to beerstreetjournal.com to find your next great beer or other alcoholic beverage. And as always, you must be 21 to enjoy, and please drink responsibly.
Not so sure I've ever seen something quite like this, Brandon. Arby's has their own vodka. What you mixing that with?
Well, I just keep hearing in my head, Arby's, we have the drinks, and, if this is a trend I can get on board with, get Taco Bell to do some tequila, mix that with some Baja Blast. Like, we got a whole new ideas here with the fast food alcohol beverage trend. But, that's a new one, and I'm just looking at the fries, honestly, and that looks pretty good themselves.
Well, before we move on, I mean, we have Arby's. Who's next? Like, what's possibly going to be next?
I gave you that one with Taco Bell tequila. I'm trying to think of like burgers and bourbon or something. So maybe we get the king to do some Burger King bourbon or something.
Gosh, now we're going to be having all these fast food chains with the alcohol. It's going to be wild here, 2021. We're just getting started. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on now. How do we actually move on after this? But move on now in the Healthcare Billing Incorporated pre-race show. We got the team championship bracket right here. And like you said, down to 4 teams after the cutoff round last week. JBR moving on as the number 1 seed. They're facing Tank Racing, which is going to be a great matchup here in the second round. And Rev Racing and Next Level Motorsports is going to be a battle between the 2 and the 3 seeds.
Yeah, and this one, it wasn't chalk like we saw in the Xfinity for the most part and in the Cup Series entirely, and how we saw it. We did have Tank Racing win that 4-5 matchup as the 5 seed, and they've been real hot as of late. All 4 of these teams capable of walking away with that team title. Yeah,
and you see the final 4 right there. Phoenix, Talladega, and Texas being scored in this round. So some really good tracks for these guys, but they're going to have to worry about Talladega there as their second race, as they're making that up from earlier on in the year. But let's take a closer look at JBR against Tank Racing, the 1v5 matchup. And JBR with a really stout week. Last race at Indianapolis, Bayer coming home in 8th, Cardullo in 10th, and Johnson coming home at 14th. So that's going to be their top 3 scoring drivers. Oh, actually, I'm seeing that's average finish, but that's a really good number to have right there for these guys, all an average finish inside the top 20.
Yeah, and you're looking at really just this screen alone shows you the advantage that JBR is going to have in this matchup. It is something that can be overcome by Tank Racing, but just the depth that Jonathan Bayer Racing has is better than any other team in the series, in my opinion. I mean, you're looking at everybody averaging a finish inside the top 20, 3 of them inside the top 15, 2 in the top 10. I mean, that is just hard to overcome, but Tank Racing has strung together some really good races with their top 3 drivers, so they are in the running in this one. I would not count them out.
Yeah, it's never an unfamiliar sight to see Mueller and Zala running up towards the front of the pack, and Bruce Hampson has been flirting with the top 10, top 15 as of late. So these guys have been finding some speed over there in Tank Racing. It should be a really good matchup here. But let's go ahead and check out the 2v3 matchup, and this is the one I think we're all going to be paying attention to as we head towards Atlanta. It is absolutely stacked between these 2 teams. Jensick and Madden both tied with an average finish at 10th, and then Cody Riggs in 19th. So, these guys also have a bunch of drivers averaging finishes inside the top 20. And then you see Brad Herman right there for Next Level Motorsports. He has been on a tear lately, winning races left and right.
Yeah, he's definitely been the hottest driver out of either of these 2 teams, and maybe the entire league since the first round started. To me, this one's really level because you're looking at 2 drivers on each team that can really sit there in the top 10 for most of the race with Jensick and Madden, Herman and York. I think that 19th is a little bit of a misnomer there. And then the rest of the teams are just kind of being, all right, who can get the good run? They kind of trade off who puts together a great finish each week. So this is going to be a real level matchup.
Yeah, and Carnathan, I believe, had a top 5 last week. Brad Rivers is usually running inside the top 10. He's been really strong since joining SRN. And Techmeyer is a veteran in this league, so he knows how to get it done as well. So Next Level Motorsports, definitely going to be a tough matchup for Rev Racing here in this 2-3 matchup. But let's go ahead and check out the playoff standings as they sit. But right now, not much to look at as everything is reset after that cutoff race in Indianapolis. But we'll give you the top 10 drivers as they sit. Brad Herman up at the top, Blair Holloman, Landon Cardullo, Jacob Zala, Lucas Lyons, followed by Michael Madden, Bobby Anderson, Kyle Wimble, Jonathan Byer, and Sean Jensick. Any surprises here in the top 10, Brandon?
Honestly, not really. You know, I think you look at a couple of the guys that have had lower finishes over the course of the regular season, but they've been really good when it comes to playoff racing the past couple seasons, that being like Kyle Wimble, Bobby Anderson. Those are guys that just know how to keep pointing their way through and progressing into the next round. So I'm not too shocked at really anybody inside this top 10, to be honest.
Well, let's go ahead and give you guys a little more in-depth introductions to our top 10. Brad Herman was our top seed in this round, so he has been on a roll lately. 2 wins to his name this season, average start of 6th place. Was sitting on the pole for a little while now, not the case here tonight. Average finish of 9th, his nickname there, you see Mr. Reliable, has only finished outside the top 7 twice this season, so Brad Herman definitely going to be one to keep an eye on tonight, as always.
And one driver that's been really good as building momentum as of late is Blair Holloman. He was the 2nd seed in that first round. Does have that win at Watkins Glen. We call him Mr. Fast Starter. 3rd best average starting position out of the playoff drivers, and has 9 top 5 starts here this season. He's out on track right now, running his first of 2 qualifying laps. But yeah, he's one of our better qualifiers out there on a track that is pretty important to start up near the front.
Yeah, so we'll look to see him starting up towards the front, as always, tonight at Phoenix. But next up is going to be Landon Cardulo out of Jonathan Byer Racing. 2 wins to his name this season, average start of 9th, an average finish of 9th, and he's known as Mr. Lead. The pack has led more laps than anyone in this series. So Landon Cardulo has been strong all year long. Looks for that to continue tonight at Phoenix.
Yeah, he's had a great rookie season. Jacob Zala putting together a great season as well. Does have the win at Darlington earlier in the year. And we got given the nickname Mr. Just Keep Going. And that's because he's had these issues pop up in the race. He does have a high incident rate with only 1 0x race thus far where he stayed clean of all incidents. It's the 2nd highest incident rating in the league. But he does have a top 10 in half the races. So when he's out there on the track and he kind of minimizes that damage, really finishes up near the front, he's just got to avoid trouble to get one of those good finishes.
All right, next up's going to be Lucas Lyons, running as an independent. Best finish on the season, 2nd. Yet to get that first win this year. Average start of 11th, average finish 15th, known as Mr. Middle of the Road, at or near the middle in average start, average finish. Incidents, top 5s, and top 10s. So pretty much every statistical category within iRacing. But Lucas Lyons showing some good speed out there tonight. Could this be the night he gets his first win?
Would not be a surprise. Also wouldn't be a surprise to see this man in victory lane, as it's Michael Madden who enters this in the 6th seed after that opening round. And we call him Mr. Pace Setter. Best average start out of all the playoff drivers. But what he does have is that incident rate kind of deal popping up again. He has 3 clean races this season. In those, averages a 3rd place finish. In all other races, averaging a 12th place finish. So he's another one of those guys that just needs to keep that truck clean tonight.
All right, in the 7th seed, Bobby Anderson out of Oklahoma. Best finish on the year, 6th. Average start of 12, average finish 16th. Mr. Underdog, lowest average finish, 9 laps led all season, and looking to play spoiler, because as you see there, best finish is 6th. That doesn't matter as long as you're having consistent finishes every week, and that's what we see Bobby Anderson doing. So look for the same tonight and possibly making a push to make the Final 5 again this season.
Yeah, he was in the final race last year. So was Kyle Wimble out of JBR. See, their best finish a 3rd, and we're giving him the nickname Mr. Hot Hand because look at the differences since the playoffs started. His starting position and finishing position in the regular season were 21st and 18th respectively. Since the playoffs began, 6th is his average starting spot, 9th his average finish. So he has shown up when it's mattered the most, and he does know his way how to continue to point your way through the playoff rounds.
All right, well, Jonathan Byer came into the playoffs as the number 1 seed on the season, had an absolutely fantastic regular season, but kind of having some troubles here in the playoffs. 2 wins so far, average start at 13th, average finish at 8th, known for Mr. Hard Charger here in SRN. 3rd worst starting position, but the 2nd best finishing position, and the cleanest driver out there on the track, so keeps that truck clean and fast till the end and finds himself passing a lot of trucks at the same time.
Another surprising driver that was near the cut line at the end of that first round was Sean Jensick. He has the tied for the most wins this season with 3, but he's at the same time, he doesn't have to lead a whole lot. He's only led 23 laps in his 3 wins. That's an average of under 8 laps in each of those wins, and he has a top 5 in over half his races, so he spends a lot of time sitting in that 2 to 5 spot. But the good news for him, top 5 advance at the end of this round of the playoffs, so those top 5s could be very, very important and very much what he needs.
Yeah, so we'll see if these guys that came in as the top seeds can rekindle that fire that they had in the regular season and point their way into the top 5. But let's go ahead and give you guys the starting lineup for the In the Zona 110 at Phoenix Raceway. Lucas Lyons on the top of the charts, gets his pole tonight at Phoenix. Brad Herman just to his outside, 8 thousandths of a second off of what Lyons ran. Sean Jensick in 3rd, and Landon Cardulo in 4th. These top 4 guys really close in time.
Super close there, and then we're seeing a lot of red numbers, non-drivers that are still in the running. Fifth place is going to be Kevin Hooker. He'll be joined by his striker teammate Don Milkowitz, making up row number 3. Also out of the playoffs, Jason Kratke will be starting in the 7th spot for Bobby Anderson Racing, and in 8th will be our regular season champion Jonathan Byer.
In 9th, going to be another JBR truck. James Kerr not in the playoffs, but looking to have a good run tonight. Josh Mueller going to be starting in 10th for Tank Racing. Kyle Wimble in 11th. And Bobby Anderson rounding out our top 12 for this evening. So that is going to be your starting lineup for the SRN Truck Series at Phoenix Raceway. Brandon, I always like to give you first pick. Who do you think is going to take the checkered flag tonight?
You know, this is a weird one because I always like to look back at the last time we ran here. The last time we ran here, we spent about 90% of that race under yellow, so that's not really going to be a great indicator of what we can expect. So one I do kind of think about, though, is who's really consistent when they need to get the runs going. I think Jonathan Byer sitting in that 8th spot, it's hard to count out the regular season points champion. I think he wants to really remind people why he does have that distinction, and he's going to put together a strong run tonight.
Yeah, I think Jonathan is going to have a really good run tonight, as well as he kind of needs one to get that good start here in the second round. It's a tricky beast running in these playoffs, and it'll be a good momentum swing for that 66. My guy I'm taking is going to be on the front row. How can I not take Brad Herman in that 85 truck? He has just been on fire lately and just easily found himself moving on to the round of 10 here tonight. So I look for him to keep the momentum going in that 85 truck and pull off another win tonight.
Yeah, so can't beat momentum, and he's got all of it right now for sure.
All right, so this is the first time for these guys racing here in the new layout, as this was just updated a few weeks ago. So this will be an interesting race for everyone this week in SRN. But first off is going to be trucks, and Lucas Lyons gets the race started tonight at Phoenix with a good jump. You're going to see a lot of trucks do this and undercut this dog leg big time. Kind of helps them save some ground on the track, but it kind of evens out at the same time. But here you see Lucas taking the high approach in turns 1 and 2. Gets a good run and heads back to the start-finish, Brandon.
Yeah, great start there for Lucas Lyons as he makes his way in through 3 and 4. Used to be 1 and 2, and this one you kind of have a lot more grip. You can run the inside and feel pretty good, but we got caution as they're wrecking in turn 4. One upside down, and I'm not sure who that is.
Jason Kratke.
Jason Kratke.
See if you can get a little glove tap from Techmeyer there as he has to go around. A lot of trucks involved in this one, so we're going to have to go ahead and take a look at our first Beer Street Journal wreck replay. And Brandon, we talked about this before the race. Weren't sure what to expect, as this was one of the more caution-prone races in SRN last season and kind of in the history books in general. Just a tough track to race around other tracks at, and you just see it there. gets a little bit of a tap from not sure who that was.
This is 75 of James Kerr. That looked like he just kind of washed up the racetrack there. And that's super easy to do. You try to run the high line on entry in 1 and 2, but then on 3, you really kind of have to get on the brakes a little bit heavy and a little bit earlier than you kind of anticipate, especially if you're on the bottom already. So I think you just carried a little bit too much momentum in there, tapped the 54, and then you see the result where just everybody behind all gets stacked up because that track worked up pretty quick.
Was that Brad Rivers that kind of got in them? Oh, Blair Holloman getting some big damage out of that. That's definitely something to pay attention to. Might have to come down and use the faster pair. Not sure if we can take a look at the truck from the outside to see just how bad it was right there. Take another look at it here as he just kind of got hit from, I believe, Michael Madden to his outside here as he was trying to dodge the whole incident happening right in front of him. Oh no, so got a little bit of a turn.
He's going to hit. He's going to hit pretty hard into that wall, and I'm looking at him on my race view right now in the rear chase. That front end is all mangled as he comes down pit road now. And it looks like he's not using a faster pair, though, as I see it, so he's just trying to fix it up, and that's an aggressive move right there. I think I would have used that faster pair hitting the nose as hard as he did, because that could lead to some engine damage.
It's really tough to say, as the race is going on. I think it might be the right call given I think this might be a kind of a caution-prone race, so he might find himself in a more trouble. If he's able to get all that damage repaired, I think it might be okay, considering Phoenix is almost treated as sort of a short track in the sense that you can get around here with some aero damage and still be okay.
Yeah, the aero, not so much of a problem. I mean, there's still some handling that's needed, and you can kind of get caught up with some damage that might tighten you up a little bit, and that's kind of a tough track. I think in the trucks it's a little bit easier with all the downforce that they have, that you can kind of navigate it, but it's still going to mess with you a little bit. But I do agree, short tracks, not as dangerous. This is a 1 mile, high speed. It's kind of that pseudo short track, but it's not going to be as punishing as it would at a 1.5 miles or larger.
Yeah, definitely one of the more unique racetracks on the NASCAR circuit. So, as always, puts on a great show for the last race, the championship race within the NASCAR circuit. So it's going to put on, hopefully, a great show for everybody at home tonight. But you see the pace car lights are off. It's going to dip down pit road real early here. These guys kind of have to pace themselves all the way down this front stretch here, or back stretch. I'm going to be so messed up this whole race. I'm just hoping to get the turn numbers right as we're following this race. But yeah, kind of an odd thing as they got to pace themselves all the way down here to the Geico restart zone, which is just before you get to the start finish line out of turn 4. So a very unique layout here at Phoenix. But Lucas Lyons going to get another good jump on Brad Herman, going to dip down, take that dog leg, try to buy him some more time here. And that's going to kind of pull the 29 of Sean Jensick to the inside of Brad Herman. So that's going to be a battle for second as Lucas Lyons looks to kind of pull away.
Yeah, he's been getting some great starts and really using that dog leg pretty well. That's a great inside run, though, from Sean Jensick as we take a look at Mike Mosby rejoining the track with some heavy damage. Wow, on my race view, sorry, I just had one sideways that caught my eye. But a big run on the inside from Sean Jensick as he's not really being too bothered by having that outside line kind of cut off. It's the priority line in 1 and 2 being on the outside, but the inside line is what you want to take in 3 and 4 here in these trucks.
Yeah, I'm not sure which line is going to save you more tires. I imagine it would be the lower line, so that's why Jensick not really trying to push it too much. But there you see Brad Herman able to clear the 29 relatively easily as he was able to get the run off the turns. Now Elena Cardulo looking to make a move to the inside of Sean Jensick, maybe make a move up to third. But as we just saw, that is going to be a hard task to pull off as that outside lane just has so much more speed here. Oh, we got a wreck back there.
The wall hard. And it's a 33 of Don Milkowitz I see in that. That's a black truck. I can't quite tell who that one is, but Milkowitz getting the worst of that one for sure.
Yeah, good job there of not moving after the contact there, because like you see here, there's just really nowhere for anybody to go, especially in this part of the track when accidents happen. with the walls right there on both sides of you. So what if it starts to pile up, you really start to worry here. Let's take a look at the Beer Street Journal Rec replay here. It might be Dave Hughes Jr. in that black truck. Really hard to see the numbers, but yeah, it gets into the wall, comes down in the Milkowicks, and then collects, I believe, I can't see the number on that camouflage.
I think that was Jonathan Byer also that got involved, and he's going to be right behind the 33 of Milkowitz. Let's see if Byer gets contact here. Yeah, I think Milkowitz slowed up, and then Byer clipped him. See AJ Pritchett in the orange and black truck.
There's a tank racing truck, the camo, it was a tank racing truck. Josh Mueller getting involved in that. So another one of our, Josh Mueller was eliminated last week. So was thinking he was one of our playoff drivers, but still, with this team championship, this is a big deal for some of these guys getting damage here in this incident alone. Josh Mueller looking to have a good run tonight. Going to have to come from the back of the pack. You see Milkowicz with some big engine damage in that 33, so he is definitely going to have to use that faster pair.
Man, that's just been a sign of what the season has been for Don Milkowicz. A lot of speed. He qualified up near the front and was running in the top 10 when that happened, and then just getting collected in that. And that's kind of just how the season has gone for him, so that's unfortunate to see that continue. And yeah, I mean, Byer, you saw him get involved in that slightly. Doesn't look like there's a whole lot of damage there. Mueller might have done a good enough job being able to avoid a lot of damage in that one as well. But Lucas Lyons, he was just barely holding off Brad Herman at the time of that caution coming out. So it's going to be real interesting to see if we can get a big run again, and maybe if 10 laps or so at least, see if Brad Herman can take advantage of getting that momentum. It's been strong starts for Lucas Lyons, but Herman quickly makes up that ground.
Yeah, Herman showed really, really good speed in practice before we went to qualifying. He had a good 7/800ths of a second on the second best lap out there. So Brad Herman definitely has the speed to win this thing tonight. But he's got a hungry rookie right in front of him who's been so close on a few instances this year here in the Truck Series on getting that first win. So Lucas is going to be a tough pass, but he can't play too much with Brad Herman, as Brad Herman has no problem moving people out of the way for a win, as he's just as hungry as the rest of them. Coming in halfway through the season, qualifying for the playoffs, and now looking as one of the top contenders in the championship running.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a fantastic run, and I definitely agree with you. He's not going to be shy to move that 7 if needed, or anybody else. But one thing that's catching my eye as we get 1 to green is how much green is on that scoring pylon inside the top 10. We got 7 of the top 8 drivers all inside the playoff top 10 as we run, entering this race. Kevin Winker being the only exception in that. So we're seeing a lot of guys that know that their competition in these playoffs are all right around them here still pretty early in this one.
Yeah, it's a weird thing to kind of get into your head. Say, Kyle or Jonathan Byer, he's having a great race running 7th, but realistically, he is the first car outside the top 5. So it is tough getting this round of 10 to move into the round of 5. You're going to need to be on your A game in every race this season. So like you said, a lot of green here in the top 10. So far, definitely going to be something to pay attention to as the race unfolds. Lucas with another great jump on the rest of the field in that number 7 Silverback Chevrolet Silverado. So he has definitely got the restarts down, but he, like you said, had some company towards the end of that run the last time around. Expect to see the same as we are back under caution again here tonight.
Not sure where this one came from.
A lot of slow trucks. There's Milkowicz. Maybe we can start with him and see exactly what happened here on a rec replay, figure out what happened. Mike Mosby as well to the inside with a heavily damaged number 99 truck. So let's go ahead, like I said, take a look at the Beer Street Journal rec replay. As always, please drink responsibly. Here you see it's kind of hectic back here. 2 separate incidences happening right in front of us. Corey Knight, Mike Mosby getting into it. And then I believe that's Dom Milkowicz. I'm not sure who hit him.
I think that was Michael York.
Yeah, kind of simultaneous contact there between two separate drivers.
And honestly, that started with Knight and York. They got together coming out of the dog leg, and I think they both lost the balance on those trucks and just each were around somebody else when they kind of settled, and we're still just a little bit loose there trying to collect it. And this Milkowicz, again, just being caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. Mosby similar in that one. That's just a rough one. And not long before that happened, I was just thinking as we got to that restart, I was watching it on the blimp view on my second screen of just being like, man, they're doing really good on these starts and restarts, getting through the dog leg at 4 or 5 wide going into one. I jinxed it without even saying it. It was just my thought did it this time. But yeah, that's what's going to happen here sometimes on this dog leg. When everybody gets antsy and starts going 4 or 5 wide down there, it's going to filter down to where you got to go 2 wide in 1 and 2. That's going to be that's tough to pull off. They did it well in the first 2 starts. The third one, not quite the charm.
Yeah, well, the people at home, you guys are in for a show. You guys get to hear me and Brandon just banter a lot during caution breaks. So enjoy it while you can, because hopefully we're going to get this thing cleaned up and hopefully not break another record. Not sure what it is about Phoenix, but man, it just does not agree with these trucks. And we saw a lot of cautions last season, and it's just producing the same type of racing here tonight. Just really tight quarters among the walls on these straightaways, and it really just makes it for some tight racing between these guys. And we've seen it before. Netcode is sometimes a factor, but other times it's just aggression and wanting to pass a truck. And we see contact happen often here, and there's hardly anywhere for anybody to go a lot of the time.
And you know, it's that dog leg is just so inviting to want to go 4 or 5 wide. Makes it real enticing to do it, and that's just a tough spot to be in. You know, and I can kind of say that from experience. I think 80% of my incident points last season came from Phoenix alone. So it's for some reason it is just a magnet for really wanting to damage some trucks, especially in the middle of the field. If you're out in front, it's not so bad, just because you can kind of set that tone. But in the middle, everybody just kind of scatters all over the place, and it led to 19 cautions last season here in this race. So I mean, we're on pace for about that early. Hopefully, we can kind of settle it down though here.
Yeah, and it's just the thing where, you have to kind of get over the radio and say, hey, guys, kind of calm it down a little bit. But you got people battling for every position out here with these blue banners on their trucks, and they're not going to want to take it easy on anybody. And it kind of becomes a trend once you see yellow flags come out constantly. That just makes you race even harder on these restarts. So that might be a little bit of something that we're seeing happen as well. So I've already seen the admins coming over, race control coming over, and kind of trying to calm these guys down a little bit. Let them know that there's still well over 90 laps in this race, and maybe make a heck of a race out of this and see who comes out on top. But right now, Lucas Lyons, he's been getting these restarts down left and right. Let's see if he can do it again. A different truck to his outside this time, though, as Sean Jensick was able to move up to second. Now Brad Herman behind Lucas Lyons in first. But there you see, he gets another good jump on the field. And we are back green for the end of Zona 110.
And another huge restart there for the 7 truck of Lucas Lyons. And the way that this race is kind of flowing here in the early going, if he keeps getting these big restarts, that's going to just put him in a golden position. It's going to be these long runs that we got to see if we can finally get to, as you see all these trucks just screaming down the back straightaway into turn number 3. And this is the first time we've seen them kind of sort out first and second, with second place not being side by side with third after a lap here. After a start or a restart for the first time all race. So this could be interesting here. Oh, wow. Near the wall there for the 7 of Lucas Lyons.
Yeah, I was just about to say, notice how he was running the bottom through turns 1 and 2 on that first lap after the restart. And then he goes straight to the top and runs the wall as close as he can. So he's really trying to explore as much of the track as possible, figure out where he's fastest, and it's seeming to work as he's got a half a second lead over his former teammate in the 29, Sean Jensick. Cardulo now up to third, moving Brad Herman back to fourth. Our top 6 occupied by playoff drivers. Jonathan Byers sitting there in 8th as well. So things are starting to heat up out here in the desert. See Blair Holloman starting to work his way up through the field as well after being involved in an early incident in that 06. He's now up to 12th, though possibly going to have 8 of the playoff drivers. Now you see a buyer making a move to go up to 7, top 7, all playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, he's making that little bit of damage to the nose that I was a little worried about there for sure. He's making it work as he continues to charge through the field, going 3 wide as a caution comes out. Yeah. And that's going to be near the back of the pack, it looks like, because we've got Michael York upside down and flipping back up onto his wheels, see if he can get that going again and save the tow. But that's the second time we've seen somebody upside down in the first 22 laps at a 1-mile track. That's something you don't see a whole lot.
Yeah, tough race so far for that number 5 truck out of Next Level Motorsports. They are in a tough battle between Rev'd Racing and the Team Playoff Championship, so this isn't going to really help out Next Level too much, as Michael York's had a bit of a rough race. See what happened here heading down into turns 1 and 2. Josh Mueller just kind of gets spun there, I believe, by Taylor Smith, or either spins on himself, but that is nowhere to go for Michael York, and see it, the ride he takes right there.
Let's see if we can get this angle, might help us out a little bit. As Taylor Smith running low, and yeah, Josh Mueller just thought he had the room down there. I think Smith was so low below him that just didn't quite notice. And that's a tough break. Mueller definitely came down. I just don't think he knew that Smith was there. As we go on board with Michael York, and if you just ate dinner or anything like that, maybe look away because he's about to go rolling.
And it could have been a thing too, because oftentimes here on iRacing, if you are so far away from another car, your spotter doesn't register that a truck or so or a car is down below you. So that could have been another thing there where Josh Mueller just didn't get the prompt from his spotter letting him know that there was someone to the inside. That's kind of why he chopped the nose. It was kind of a mutual meeting between the two. Taylor Smith kind of sliding up and Josh Mueller kind of cutting down a little bit there. And you see the end, the result wasn't good at all for Michael York in the 5 truck. So we'll see if he's able to rebound tonight. But we had some leaders come down pit road, and some people opting to stay out. Lucas Lyons going to be the first one off. Brad Herman just behind him, but Lucas coming out in 6th. So he's got 5 trucks in front of him. And keep in mind, a lot of these trucks in front of him haven't put too many green flag laps on these tires. So we'll be interested to see how this works out.
Yeah, that's why I'm not too crazy about, or really going crazy about the idea of these top 5 staying out. I think it's not a bad call.
Yeah.
It looks worse than it is because we're seeing 24 laps on the track, but we've only had, I would say, 7 or 8 green flag laps at full speed, not counting like the cool down lap once a caution does come out. So I mean, there's not a whole lot of wear on these tires. The fall off in the trucks isn't incredibly significant. You're looking at maybe a 1.25 seconds at the end of a run, and that's still about 40 laps or so. I just don't think the fall off really means that you had to make that stop. So I'll be real curious to see if 5 positions is something that Lucas Lyons can make up pretty quickly. But we've seen races before with a lot of cautions in the truck series where you didn't even have to pit to the entire race. You could just save enough gas and just have those cautions where you can stay on track the entire time. I don't think that'll happen here tonight, but I don't think we're going to need to see multiple pit stops at this rate.
Yeah, it's Sean Jensick, the only one so far in this race to yet to pit on 25-lap old tires, but Dave Fuse Jr. has 9-lap fresher tires behind him. Mosby pitted roughly 12 laps ago, Bobby Anderson 11 laps ago, and Corey Knight hitting 10 laps ago. So kind of different strategies all throughout the top 5. Some of these guys have been involved in the incidents that we've seen tonight and are now running up towards the front with just how the way things have panned out. So that is going to hand the lead over to Sean Jensick, who we've seen is very fast here tonight. Could these trucks kind of help him get out to a bit of a lead and separate himself from Lucas Lyons, Brad Herman, and Landon Cardulo sitting back there in 6th, 7th, or 8th.
I mean, if we just keep seeing these short green flag runs, I think the leader is where you want to be. So that's just going to be a real tough call the rest of the race on when you want to pit, because everybody's going to have to. But I wouldn't want to give up the lead at any point with the way that this race is flowing.
Yeah, the 29 gets a really good jump on Dave Fuse Jr. He's heavily under attack as Mike Mosby makes a move undercutting that dog leg and was able to clear the 16. So 16 had a really tough time on that restart and finds himself back in third and now under attack. Oh, big hit back there. I believe that was Andrew Harris or 87. Andrew Harris back there trying to get a camera on it to see all the chaos. No caution. They're going to have to throw. Wow, that was stressful for a second as the caution flag was not coming out. And these trucks were going to have a hard time getting going by the time the rest of the field came back around. That could have been really scary.
My goodness, that wow. So we just averted disaster even more than that was, but several trucks caught up in yet another Beer Street Journal Rec replay. The patriotic truck, the 87 of Andrew Harris, the first one to get turned around. I think I saw Kyle Wimble with some heavy damage there. Oh yeah, straight into the inside wall. Cody Riggs in this, Sean Kozier in this. We got a handful of trucks all with some heavy damage. Nice job from Rob Yost, though. I don't think he got any damage in that one, just slowing up and letting it all play out in front of him.
Yeah, Andrew Harris just nowhere to go. Corey Knight very slow in front of him, and then Joseph DuPont just barely hooking him, sends him into the wall, and then really nothing else the 87 can do at this point besides just hit the brakes and hold on to that wheel, because you are about to become a wrecking ball through this field. Yeah, you just see it there. He gets into Corey Knight, slows him up, and Joseph DuPont with nowhere to go, really. Walt Lipicki, absolutely nowhere to go, just smashes in to the rear end, and Jason Crackey also involved. I believe that's going to be the end of the night for the 54, as we saw him on his hood not too long ago. So tough night for the 54, but big damage for a lot of the guys throughout the middle of the field.
Yeah, and I mean, most notably, it's going to be Kyle Wimble that had the worst of that as a playoff driver. But there's still a lot of drivers involved in the Tier 2 playoff, or the Tier 2 championship, I should say, that all caught up in that one. But we saw a lot of guys take heavy damage in that one. And as I'm looking at that scoring pylon, we got 8 of our 10 playoff drivers inside the top 10. And then the 2 that aren't are now 30th or worse, as Jacob Zala had some server issues and was unable to make the start of the race. He's in last place. Kyle Wimble with that damage, now a lap down in 30th.
Yeah, so not the night some of these guys were looking for here at Phoenix, but still plenty of time to go as we see some other guys going down pit road. Jacob Zala, one of them, like you said, is going to have a tough time moving up through the field, finds himself back in 33rd. So probably getting a little bit stressful over in that number 25 camp with the way he is running tonight. But still, like I said, plenty of time as we have 80 laps left. Want to give a shout out to Rob Yost, though. He's very proud of his patriotic paint scheme out there tonight in that 98 truck. Beautiful looking truck.
Yeah, good looking truck for sure. Kind of reminds me of I think it was Kenny Schrader that ran a car that looked a lot like that in 2001, and that just kind of gave me that flashback. But that's a really good looking truck for sure. One thing I was going to mention here, and it just got announced by Race Control, restarts are now moving to single file to try to kind of get everything sorted out here, at least on this next one for sure. Hopefully that'll do the trick and just kind of get everybody spread out just a little bit and see if we can get a run going.
Yeah, well, there is a lot of griping over the radio, I'm sure, as a lot of guys didn't want to see that, but there is definitely one guy that doesn't mind that. We're looking at it right now. Sean Jensick will not hate that call from admins now, as he has some good separation between him and that 7 truck, who is really the race for the battle. But right here you see Scott Healy in the chat saying, what do you guys think about the playoffs in the other series? Brandon, I'll give you the first swing at this one.
Well, I think Scott is sitting in a pretty solid spot. So I think he's doing pretty well for Sundays for sure with the momentum that he's had. He's somebody to definitely keep an eye on. We got a handful of guys, though, in that Cup Series really in the running. Xfinity side, I suppose I should defer to you, as you got a better feel of the playoff than I do for sure.
Oh, man, I'll just leave it at this. It is a different type of racing, very stressful. But we have such a talented group of guys in the Xfinity Series. Any one of them can make it in the top 5. I'm just thankful to still be in it. We'll see if I'm able to get there in the top 5, but it's going to be an exciting finish to the end of the season. But, Scott, I look forward to seeing how you do. Maybe go back-to-back in the championship for Cup Series. But we got to get back to the race tonight here in Phoenix. See that single file restart this time and try to clean things up. Sean Jensick gets out to a big lead over Mike Mosby.
And honestly, even though it was single file, that's still kind of the same distance that we've seen him put down on everybody else in the last couple restarts. But that's side-by-side returning once again as Lucas Lyons with those fresh tires compared to everybody else has worked his way up to third. Taking a look on the inside of Mike Mosby for second. And this is where it gets real dicey on that dog leg. Everybody just has a different way that they want to attack it. You can easily go 5 wide in there, but then you got to filter it down to at least 2 wide, or at most 2 wide, by the time you get to 1, because everybody kind of wants to run that high line for the most part. You can run low, but a lot of people want to kind of drop it down with the late apex. And then 3 and 4, you're just trying to hold down that inside line as best as you can. So this is a real unique track, and it all starts with this dog leg setting it all up.
Well, time to see how these older tires are going to fare with the new tires, as Lucas Lyons has cleared those 2 trucks that were in front of him. He's now running second, and Landon Cardulo has moved up to third, trying to close the gap down to Sean Jensick, and able to do so. You see them chipping off some time lap by lap, but we'll see if they're able to get past this 29 truck as things are kind of calming down a little bit after that single file restart.
Yeah, that might have done the trick, and I know that there were some people that weren't happy about it, but I mean, if it all comes down to the actions on the racetrack, so definitely don't disagree with that call that was made by race control there in moving it to single file. And you can see in the results right now that it's worked out, as it just got everybody separated just enough to really get this run started. And that's going to put Lucas Lyons in an Sean Jensick in an interesting position, though, because this is the first time we've really seen this somewhat longer green flag run, and that's going to put him in a position where the restart isn't going to just carry you, as now we got the 7 of Lucas Lyons to the inside with a good run coming out of 2. That's going to be negated just a bit as he had to shorten up that exit a little. Let's see if he can put that together in 3 and 4 this time.
Just want to give you an update on one of our playoff drivers. I'm seeing here that Jacob Zala has been disconnected, so a little bit of technical issues for the 25 truck. So right now he's going to be scored in the 33rd position, well off the cut line, moving on to Talladega next week. So tough break for the 25 machine, as he is going to have a hard time making the move to get inside the top 5 in that final round of the playoffs. So Jacob Zala out for the night.
And the scary thing for him is that 8 of the top 11 drivers on the track right now are playoff drivers. Inside the top 10 is Lucas Lyons, one of those playoff drivers, trying to take the lead, see if he can hold on to that momentum this time. But Sean Jensick on the outside just getting so much more power down that back straightaway. But this time it's still side by side as they go into 3 and 4, but still not enough as the outside line continues to be the power line around here.
Yeah, we saw all the lanes that the drivers were using this past weekend in the actual races out at Phoenix. Kind of a multi-groove track, makes for some really great racing. So you're going to see Lucas Lyons now trying to use that line that Sean Jensick was just using not too long ago to defend that second place position from Landon Cardulo. So kind of what Sean Jensick is wanting to see, these two guys starting to battle it out for second, kind of gives him a break. It could kind of cool off those tires on the 29 truck. But right now, Landon Cardulo taking a look to the inside on the dog leg. Gonna have the inside heading into turns 1. And he's gonna have a hard time holding on to that position, though, as Lucas Lyons gonna do the same thing, get a big run off of 2 and drag race him all the way down this straightaway.
And this is just real interesting, too, because I think in the Xfinity and the Cup Series races that we're going to have later this week, I think there's going to be a lot more easier passing that's going to happen just because of the way that those cars handle. The trucks are so momentum-based that you can really pin it down on the outside and just hold that momentum. So that was a great entry into 1 by Lucas Lyons. This time he should be able to slide up there and hold on to the lead as he does clear Sean Jensick. So a lead change out there. Lucas Lyons on those fresh tires now out in front, and that's what he had to do. He had to just really power it in to turn 1 to try to get ahead there and slide up just enough. But I think we're going to see the passing be a little bit easier tomorrow night and Sunday night, just because of how the cars handle there compared to the trucks.
Yeah, and it's it's not going to be a total loss here for Sean Jensick after he loses the lead. He was about second or third before these guys went down pit road, so I imagine the worst he's going to fall to is fourth here. Brad Herman catches him. So really not a bad risk here, or a bad chance to take that position, that track position, and lead some laps. That gets you the bonus point, which could be crucial moving on as we head towards Atlanta here. So we'll see if that works out for the 29, but he is going to have to be careful not to get into it with the 13 as they drag race down this straightaway heading into turns 3 and 4.
We're seeing the 13, Landon Cardulo, be pretty aggressive in these turns. Saw him get a little bit sideways a couple times there in the past couple laps, just really trying to feel out how aggressive he can be on that inside line when you're really having to pin it down there. And obviously he found that balance because he does clear Sean Jensick, and now he sets his sight on Lucas Lyons, and that 13 truck starting to make its way up towards the front here pretty strong and looking like it's the truck that we've seen all season long thus far.
Yeah, 13 has been constantly running up towards the front here in these SRN truck races. Made a heck of a name for himself in his first season here at Speed Racing Network. So looking to cap it off with a championship, but going to have a tough time as he's got a lot of talented drivers around him. Trying to pass one of them right now out there on the track, taking a peek to the inside, but doesn't have the position heading down into turn 3. He's just going to try and tuck in behind him and see where he can make up some ground on the 7 while kind of trying to take care of these tires, because not to jinx it here, but we kind of got ourselves on a little bit of a green flag run.
Yeah, we finally got one going here for a decent bit. And one thing that I was just thinking about was I really like where Landon Cardulo is sitting, because he's running the atypical lines from everybody else. So I think everybody's just found where they're comfortable. But Landon Cardulo is kind of able to run anywhere on the track, and he's shown that ability to do it. And to do that this early in the race, I think is just going to go a long way later on, where there's going to be some guys that try to force you into a lane that you don't necessarily want to be in. But he's kind of run all over the track, and he's figured out the line no matter where he's out. If it's outside down to the inside, if he's holding the outside, pinning it inside the entire time, he's shown that he's comfortable all over the racetrack. That might be huge later on.
Yeah, he kind of made some good time up there through turns 1 and 2 that time, and kind of got right up on the bumper of the 7. So Lucas Lyons definitely taking note of where this 13's faster. He's going to have a chance here. Take a look to the outside. I think he's going to have the nose to the rear quarter panel. Going to try and get a big run here off of turns 3 and 4, and maybe get a heck of a run down this straightaway. Take a peek to the inside, but Lucas Lyons going to block that lane. Hold on to that first place position, coming back to the stripe here on lap 49 out of 110. So quite the battle up front.
Yeah, this is some great racing for the lead, and we're not even halfway in yet. But they're getting real feisty up there, trying to get out in front. And part of that's just going to be that, you know, we've got this good run going right now, but you don't know if we're going to snap back into one of those streaks of cautions where you really want to be out in front for all those restarts. So, I mean, this is it's almost going to run like a rain delay possible race where you're just kind of thinking, like, I don't know when it's coming, but you know it's gonna at some point. So you're just trying to fight and get every position you can while it's out there, and while we're still green, as the 13 with a great run into 1, not quite clear just yet, as that 7's going to hang on and keep the nose right in line with that right rear quarter panel as they go side by side into 3.
Yep, coming to the stripe to complete lap 50. Landon gets really loose heading to 3 and 4. They're going to have to lose some time. That's going to give Lucas Lyons sole possession of first place again, with nobody to his inside or outside, just what he wanted. So Landon going to have a little bit more work to do here, showing that he's the faster truck out there right now, but still got to pass that 7. Here comes Sean Jensick again back into the mix. Kind of fell off a little bit here as he is on a different sequence here, older tires on that truck. Gonna be curious to see how much longer he can stay out, because I'm worried that he might have to make this a 2-stop race if these other guys already pitted and got fuel. I'm curious to see if he's able to make it the rest of the way on 1 stop.
That's going to be real close. You can go about 45 green flag laps on a fuel cycle. To me, the bigger concern was going to be tires a little bit, just because once you get really late into that run, they do get a little bit loose on you. But I don't think he's going to be able to one-stop it if it stays green like this as he scrapes the wall. One thing I was just thinking, though, is the truck that might be sitting real pretty right now is that 85 just behind him of Brad Herman, who hasn't really had to race anybody this hard. He's just been kind of chilling back there in that 4th spot and inching his way closer towards the lead without putting much wear on those tires, trying to battle for position.
Yeah, just kind of cruising and minding his time. He's going to make the moves once the laps tick off a little bit more here in this race, as we are 1 lap away from the halfway point here tonight for the end of Zona 110. And got some lap traffic in front of our leaders here. Not sure who that is. I believe it's Sean Kozier in the 97. A little bit of a beat-up truck there. So they're going to have to go to the outside of the 97 as he kind of peels below the line there to let the leaders on by. But still, Landon Cardulo making an aggressive move to the inside of Lucas Lyons. He really wants this lead. He's going to try and pull it off here in turns 1 and 2. Not sure if he's going to be able to clear him this time.
And still not clear as that outside line continues to just get so much momentum out of turn 2. But this time it's going to be the nose just in front, though Landon kind of checked up just that little bit. I think he got a little hot into turn 3 and decided to back down just a touch. But he had a great run of momentum as he kind of arced it down in there. And he's going to clear him just barely going into 1.
Lucas going to give him a little bit of a bump there. Seeing some chatter between the two of them, so maybe not liking it. But hey, we've all pulled off a slide job here once or twice in SRN. So great move by the 13 to take the lead, was showing that he was the faster truck out there on the track, but had to earn that spot, and he did so by clearing Lucas Lyons heading into turn 1, as you see him kind of pull away from the 7 now. Now the 7 has the 29 on his bumper, so maybe the 7 burned up his stuff racing to get that lead from the 29.
It is just crazy seeing how aggressive we're seeing some of these pass attempts be, as we're just now past halfway in this 110-lap race. And we've seen some battles for the race lead that feel like we're more like 10 laps to go than 55 laps to go, as now we go side by side. Possibly, no, Lucas Lyons going to hold on and still stay just in front of Sean Jensick, but that window getting closer and closer.
Yeah, this top 4 kind of pulling away from the rest of the field, finding themselves 2 seconds ahead of that 5th place truck back there at Mike Mosby. But a great job by Mike Mosby to hang on to a top 5 position, as he was one of those trucks that stayed out as well. But here we got 7 of our playoff drivers in the top 10, 8 in the top 11, as Bobby Anderson currently running in 11th. And then we have some people, Kyle Wimble down in 27th, and then Jacob Zala running in that 33rd position. So a lot of our playoff drivers having a really good night, and then some of the bigger names falling through the field and in the back of the pack.
Yeah, so 8, like you said, 8 of the top 11, but those other 2, we got Kyle Wimble still a lap down, and he's actually not in the lucky dog position because Sean Kozier got lapped a little bit ago, as we saw that play out when he ducked down on the apron in front of the leaders. Jacob Zala has been kind of in and out with his server, and he's running near last, 1 position away from it in 33rd. But he's going to have a hard time moving up if we keep this green like we have been. So for 8 of the 10 playoff drivers, this is a really good night, but for 2 of them, they're having to dig out of a huge hole in the next 2 races to try to advance. And one other thing I did just want to touch on, we're getting pretty close. You can run about 45 laps of green flag racing on 1 tank. So we're getting pretty close to being able to make it on 1 more stop. That window going to open up in about 4 laps from now.
Yeah, this could be huge for that 29. If he can make it to lap 65, could potentially make it the rest of the way on fuel. Would be a heck of a feat to stay out as long as he has, maybe shutting the truck off during all those pace laps that we had early on, but finds himself running in 2nd now as he was able to get past Lucas Lyons. Lucas now back to 4th, so falling through the field a little bit, as he was just on the heels of the ball, or he was the leader not too long ago. Now back and 4th and 2 seconds back of Landon Cardulo.
Yeah, I'm not surprised we saw Lyons kind of drop back with how aggressive he was having to run those tires. But what is kind of surprising me is at the same time, Landon Cardulo pulling away like he has.
Jensick's pitting.
He's been in so much of the same thing as Sean Jensick. Yeah, he is making his way down pit road. And this is going to be a stretch if he can make it the rest of the way without having to make another pit stop should this thing stay green the rest of the way.
Wow, this is going to be so close for the 29. This could be huge or very bad for the 29, so we'll see how it works out. He's going to cycle out to be the leader as he was just about 1.5 to 2 seconds back of Landon Cardulo, going to make up some good time on those fresh tires. We'll see how long it takes for the rest of these guys to come down pit road because, as you said, we are right on the line of being able to make it. So I imagine by lap 70, things will pick up.
Well, and the scary thing here is it's really easy to go 2 laps down from a green flag pit stop. It takes about 50 seconds to come down pit road, get your pit stop done, and then exit pit road. And we're looking at about 28 seconds a lap, so you nearly go 2 laps down if you're right on line with the race leader. So if a caution were to come out at this point, that would just absolutely set Sean Jensick in big trouble out there on the racetrack.
Yeah, he is back out there and looking to make some passes and get back on the lead lap, but going to have a tough time doing so. Just 1 lap down, that first car a lap down as well, but going to need to get on the lead lap to avoid too much danger here. But we'll keep an eye on the 29, see when everybody else. I'm seeing Lucas Lyons talking. He might be coming down this time. I'm hearing Sean Jensick showing 1 lap. Yeah, was getting word that he was 2 laps down. We're just not going to listen to Sean Griffith anymore.
Seeing more pit stops, though, as that window has opened. As we saw Dave Fuge, we see Bobby Anderson, one of our playoff drivers, coming down pit road. He's going to be the second of our playoff 10 making his way down as Landon Cardulo working his way through traffic, one of which being his teammate Kyle Wimble. That puts Wimble, a playoff driver, 2 laps down in the process.
Yeah, it's not what you want to do and put your teammate who's in the playoffs 2 laps down, but there's not much that 13 can do but keep running his race. So now Kyle Wimble finding himself in a deeper hole as it looks like he was able to get by Sean Kosher not too long ago, but 2 laps down now, not going to do much for the lucky dog as Landon just continues to put more and more trucks down 1 lap on this long green flag run that we are surprised to have, very delighted to have, but considering the beginning of the race, we were not expecting to see this.
Looks like Lucas Lyons down pit road now, so 3rd place driver on track at that point, making his pit stop. That's, as much as he burned up those tires trying to hold on to the lead, not too much of a shock. 40 laps to go as he hits pit road, so that's definitely within reason to be able to make it without having to conserve too much as we wait to see when Landon Cardulo makes his way through. And this wouldn't be a bad time. He makes contact with Corey Knight and gets to the right front. A little bit of damage there, but he's going to lose the lead to Brad Herman most likely. Oh no, Herman gets into Kyle Wimble.
Wow, there is just trucks and chaos everywhere. Now we got a battle for the lead. They make contact. Brad Herman saves it. Landon holds on to the lead. That was a chaotic half a lap here on lap 70. Landon able to hold on to the lead, but wow, there was a lot of contact.
And I was just about to say, if I'm Landon Cardulo, this might not be a bad time to pit because of all the lap traffic around him, just to get out of that situation. And it just wound up biting him there as he was trying to get around Corey Knight. And Corey just kind of held that line a little bit low, kind of pinch it a little bit, and that was all it took. It wasn't anything egregious, but that space was just a little short there, and that right front just clipped the left rear of Corey Knight's truck and just sparked all of that for the top 2 drivers.
Yeah, not too much damage on that 13, but showing a lot of damage on this 85. Maybe have gotten into the wall at some point during this race as well, as the right side of that 85 really banged up, but still fast as he's holding on to second, just a half second off of Landon, but still a lot of lap traffic for this 13 to navigate, see if he's able to navigate it as he clears Dan Carnathan now working to the inside of Troy Techmeyer there, able to clear both of those guys. Now they have their teammate Brad Herman just behind them, see if he's able to clear them easily.
By the way, while we kind of get everything sorted back out a little bit there, One thing I do want to point out, how about Blair Holloman sitting there in that 5th position? Great comeback from him, as he's now above the cut line if the race were to end right now when it comes to the point standings for the top 5 on who could advance at the end of the round. And one other one I think is just now coming down pit road was Kevin Winker. He's a Tier 2 championship leader coming into this race after winning at Indianapolis last week, and he's had a solid run in the top 10 this entire race too.
Yeah, well, it makes sense when Blair Holloman has the contingency of being known as a guy that passes a lot of trucks. He's done so tonight after having those early issues in that 06 up to 5th and really flexing some muscle. If he can get a caution here, that might put him in the position to maybe spoil some people here tonight and come away a winner for his 2nd win of the season here in SRN, and maybe set himself up to get into that final race at Atlanta in a run for that $300. But we'll follow his progress here for the rest of the night, as we still got plenty of racing, 35 laps left to go. We'll see who's able to pull away. Still waiting on our leaders here to pit. Landon Cardullo, Brad Herman, both waiting, as we've seen some of our guys that were running up front pit maybe 10 to 15 laps ago.
Yeah, it looks like we're down to 12 trucks that are still out since that last caution at the very latest since this pit stop. And now we got a handful more. Josh Mueller, AJ Pritchett, Joseph DuPont all coming in. So that's going to knock it down to probably about 7 or 8, as Brad Herman now making a pit stop as well. So we're getting pretty close to the end of this one before everybody else is going to have to come in. And Landon Cardullo, I think he's got to be coming in, if not this time, the next time by, because he's really setting himself up to possibly be burned by a pretty heavy undercut.
Yeah, Sean Jensick about to get his lap back the hard way. I imagine we'll see Landon come down this time as you see him peel off the racetrack and try to set himself up for a great entry into this pit road. One of the easier ones on the circuit, so shouldn't see too many penalties tonight. But Michael Madden going to be our new leader out there, followed by Jonathan Byer, I believe.
Yeah, it will be Byer in second, but Byer now coming down pit road. Looks like Brad Rivers as well. So we're down to just a couple drivers out there still on track, and a caution! Oh my.
That is huge for those two guys that just came down to pit road. Landon Cardullo, Jonathan Byer, going to have a big flip in track position, as a lot of these guys going to come down and get fresh tires. They're going to have the freshest tires on the track, won't need to come down pit road again. So those JBR trucks going to cycle out to the lead potentially here, so we'll see exactly what happens with that. But before that, let's check out another Beer Street Journal Rec replay. Josh Mueller just gets loose on the exit of 2, potentially on those cold tires, I believe, so that's what sent him around.
Yeah, that's got cold tires written all over it. It's real easy to lose that traction in turn 2. Once you kind of hit that low line in there, it just gets real greasy when those tires aren't warmed up and scrubbed in just that bit. And yeah, that's a classic cold tire, just slow slide towards that inside wall. Keeps it from damage though, backs it up, gets back going. So no harm, no foul for Josh Mueller, but a lot of harm for a lot of guys that are going to be pinned 2 laps down. They'll only get 1 of those laps back with the wave around here. Michael Madden going to be in a good spot, but nobody really in a better position than Jonathan Byer, who just came down pit road before that happened. And that seems to be the story of his season. Just unbelievable timing with pit stops.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see just how this works out with everybody pitting. I believe Sean Jensick stayed out, not coming down pit road. He's got about 15 laps of green flag racing on that set of tires and is right on the edge of making it for fuel too. So really surprised to not see the 29 come down this time by. But the way things work out, I believe he will cycle out to the lead, and that's going to put Jonathan Byer and Landon Cardullo just behind him on fresh tires.
Yeah, said that Byer was in a good spot, but I think the way it works out, he's not necessarily going to be. He might actually be outside the top 10 because of the timing. And now Sean Jensick is going to make his way down.
Wow, this just got crazy. I have no clue who is where at this point. It's just going to... Yeah, showing Landon in second. He's in first, actually, now as he goes by Sean Jensick. So the 13 cycling out to the front, but not sure what happened to Jonathan Byer because he should be just behind his teammate here in the 13.
I'm wondering if it's just one of those things where this pit road is really wonky compared to any other one on the circuit, where it's just real weird because it's so long and it's at such a weird angle compared to the racetrack. I'm wondering if that kind of played a game with how that worked, and maybe just pinned him a lap down by the way that by the time that the yellow flag came out, maybe he was lapped and he's set back because he got a wave around. That's kind of my best guess at this point, just because it's such a funky pit road here.
That's what it looks like has happened because he is in the front of this pack. Not scored a lap down, obviously, as he's in front of the leader, but it's showing he's about 50 seconds behind the leader. You can see him further on up there. He's the second truck in this pack behind the pace car. So, yeah, not sure exactly what happened, but that shows the difference between where he pitted and where Landon Cardulo pitted, and that just gets Landon Cardulo out in front with fresh tires, followed by Michael Madden and those fresh set of tires as well, and then some new names up to the front. Jack Johnson in third, Cody Riggs in fourth, and Dave Feuds Jr. running in fifth. So some of these non-playoff drivers trying to spoil the party.
Yeah, now it's half of the top 10 aren't in the playoff field of 10 at this point. That's the first time we've seen more than, I think, 3 all night in this race. So big shakeup with that caution coming out where it did. And we're still seeing, I believe it's going to be only 17 drivers on the lead lap. There it is right there. 17 trucks on the lead lap as we get ready to restart this race. So that caution was a huge difference maker here in this one, pitting a ton of guys a lap down.
Yeah, and you see it there. We're going to go back to double file restarts here after doing a single file the last time and getting a great green flag run, roughly 50 laps or so. Let's see if we can get that again to the end as we are down to 28 to go here in the race tonight. Landon Cardulo getting a good jump, but not necessarily the best jump. Jack Johnson and Cody Riggs and Michael Madden just behind him.
And the one thing Michael Madden doesn't want is to let that 35 clear him, but it looks like that might be happening here as Jack Johnson does get in front of him. So now he's going to have to go through one JBR truck to get to the other JBR truck, and that is not necessarily what you want when you're sitting there out on an island right now when it comes to teammates like Michael Madden is right now, as he does try to get the nose out there into second, possibly try to clear him, going into one to see if he can hold on and maybe slide up there and cut that outside run by the time that they exit out of 2.
Yeah, the 35 truck just looking a little tight in turns 3 and 4, giving the 15 the opportunity to wash up into the inside of the truck. Wow, it gets really tight there between these two heading into turn 3. But Michael Madden gonna have that second place position now, trying to run down Landon Cardulo, who's 8 to 9 tenths of a second in front of him. We're back under caution though. Here it looks like it's going to be Zach Burgesson getting a little loose and potentially spinning out. Not seeing any other trucks involved in this one.
It doesn't look like it, but we'll take another look here at our 7th Beer Street Journal Rec replay of the night and see what happened there to the 40. Yeah, he blew the engine. I thought I heard one of those sounds like it was either a wall hit or an engine, and that was definitely an engine there for the 40 of Zach Burgesson. That's, do you see a little bit of crinkling there on the nose, so he probably had some nose impact at some point, and that engine just finally let go. Typically, if you pull it off the track, it'll avoid the caution, but I think with how little space is there on the apron, the sensor just kind of went there for iRacing to trigger that yellow flag.
Well, we got 25 laps to go, 7 cautions so far tonight, so they've definitely gotten it cleaned up, as they usually do here in the Truck Series. So kudos to them. It was not looking good to start this race, but definitely putting on a good show now, especially up front. We got a lot of fast trucks trying to get the win here in the desert and potentially set themselves up for a great run to the final round race in Atlanta. You sticking with your pick here tonight, Brandon? I know you picked Jonathan Byer, I believe it was.
Yeah, I kind of got a little bit pinned back there with the way that caution flew, but still sitting inside the top 10 for a solid night at least. But definitely kind of backfiring a little bit with that caution.
Yeah, that caution really just kind of jumbled up the whole field as we were in the midst of green flag pit stops, and some people were finding themselves a lap down. It's kind of flipped this field on its head. Brad Herman who was running up towards the front of the pack most of the day, now finds himself in 14th, and he is the 7th truck up, in the round of 10. He's the 7th truck in the standings as of right now, so finds himself looking on the outside, and there is a little bit of pointage in between him and Byer as well, or Anderson. So he was once up towards the front, now finds himself about 6 points out of the cut. So that's just all it takes here in the playoffs.
And that's where it got really weird in this race, because there was such a window for everybody to be making that pit stop. We saw Sean Jensick, I believe it was lap 61, 62, made his stop. That caution came out on around lap 80. So we're looking at 18 laps or so of a window for anybody to make that pit stop, and it just such a gap out there on a track where you can lose a lap or two in the process of a pit stop depending on where you are compared to the leader. That just left a lot of guys vulnerable that came in early, and we're seeing half the field still sitting a lap down even after the lucky dog on that last caution.
Yeah, so there is a lot to unravel here in this race. It's been a wild one out here in the desert, but still plenty of time to get this thing sorted out, figure out who is going to come away with a trophy tonight, and a little bit of money in their pocket as well. Landon Cardullo has been flexing the muscles in that IK9 Ghirardelli Chocolate number 13 Toyota Tundra out of JBR. But Michael Madden, an experienced veteran here in SRN, plenty of wins to his name, knows how to get it done in that 15 truck, looking to bring home another win here in the playoffs. Then you got some newcomers trying to get in on the mix here tonight. Jack Johnson hasn't been around for much of this race, now finds himself in 3rd. And then Dave Hughes Jr. working the cautions out to get himself up to 4th place, looking to have a great run here tonight. And then Sean Jensick going to round out the top 5.
So after all that, we still have 3 playoff drivers inside the top 5 as we get ready for this restart. Lucas Lyons, Bobby Anderson not far off either. Brad Rivers, one of these guys too, that has kind of just emerged through the field here by with that caution timing out the way that it did. Started in 18th. He was kind of sitting around that 10th, 15th position most of the night. Caution times out, and all of a sudden he's sitting there battling for a top 5 here in the last 20 laps.
Here we go, double file restart once again. Landon Cardullo getting a little bit of a better jump this time. Michael Madden not letting him get too far out there. Going to be able to clear the 35 of Jack Johnson, so he can just set his sights on that 13 truck. Sean Jensick to the inside of Dave Hughes Jr. Going to find himself 3 wide potentially here as Lucas Lyons looks to the inside as they exit turn 2.
Wow, great job there by those guys making that work 3 wide. Turn 2, not necessarily the point where you want to be 3 wide. You can make it work a lot more on this end of the racetrack, 3 and 4, but they did make it work in 1 and 2 and still staying green. 20 laps to go. So the race is on with 6 drivers all within a second, and 6 drivers all under a blanket right here going through 1 and 2.
Yeah, these guys battling for second. Dave Hughes Jr. looking to pick up a spot on Michael Madden and make a move for second. So Dave looking to get himself into victory lane tonight in that all blacked out 16. But now going to have the outside occupied by Sean Jensick, who is storming back up through the field in a race with him and Michael or Lucas Lyons. Oh, they touch! Dave Hughes Jr. saves it.
What a save by Fuge in that 16. Lucas Lyons saw the opening there and tried to dive in there and stick the nose to the inside and just got in real hot. And I don't think Dave Hughes Jr. thought that that would be a run that was even possible as he tried to take that inside line, and just 2 trucks fighting for the same piece of real estate, and that nearly ended in disaster in front of most of the field, all still running real tight. Amazing job by Fuge in the 16, and a good job by Lucas Lyons as well, backing out of that and giving him the space to collect it.
Well, yeah, you got to think about it. You know, yes, Dave Hughes Jr. would have been the one spinning out there, but here we have a caution penalty here. Lucas Lyons would have been facing an EOL and finds himself probably back in 18th or 19th and well behind a lot of these playoff drivers. So that really worked out the best it possibly could for those 2 drivers. So these guys starting to sort it out here in the top 5. But Landon Cardulo just steadily pulling away from Michael Madden and Sean Jensick.
I'm real impressed. We got one spinning. I think it's Jack Johnson in turn 3 has gone around and backed it into the wall pretty hard. And as that 35 gets back rolling, as we got our 8th caution of the night, and it's going to set up a pretty short run to the finish here with probably about 12 laps to go.
Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and check out another Beer Street Journal Rec replay, see exactly what happened here. As Jack Johnson was racing just behind his teammate Jonathan Byer there in the 66. Kevin Winker just goes in real deep into turn 3 and just turns the 35 around hard into the wall, like you said. Going to be some significant damage to that rear spoiler, but going to be able to keep on going here tonight and potentially salvage a good run as he was running up towards the front.
Yeah, we're starting to see these guys starting to pull some more aggressive moves on entry into these turns, really trying to stick the nose in there from a deep position, and it's kind of bitten a couple guys here. We saw that great save from Dave Fuge a couple of laps ago. Jack Johnson unable to be really in a position where he could even try to save that time around, as Winker just got in real deep into turn 3 and just made enough contact there to send that 35 around, but that's going to re-rack him and erase what was nearly a 1-second lead for Landon Cardulo.
Yeah, I'm going to be really curious to see what the admins opt to do here. We saw them go to a single-file restart earlier on in the race to kind of clean up the racing that we were seeing out there, and it did, in fact, work. After the next round of cautions, they opted to go back to double-file restarts, and we've kind of found ourselves in a repeating pattern once again of cautions breeding cautions. So could we see them change it back to a single file restart this time, which would really, potentially change the outcome of this race? That kind of gives the leader a big competitive advantage over the rest of these guys behind him, as it's not someone lining up beside him, it's just behind him now. So that's a whole nother row and a good chunk of distance between you and that guy. So not seeing that they're switching it so far, we might be doing a double file restart once more.
Yeah, and I think personally that would be the call that I want this late in the race. I would like to see them keep it double file as much as possible, just to give that opportunity to drivers. And I think we've shown that these guys can put together enough of a run to warrant just keeping it double file. But one thing also to touch on, couple drivers in the playoffs making a pit stop here this time around. So we got Bobby Anderson now in 14th, and Lucas Lyons now going to be sitting in the 15th position after coming down, putting some fresh tires on there. See how that works out, as there's some decent wear on these tires. Not anything crazy, but there's enough that it might be a factor here in this last little sprint.
Yeah, but it's not going to do that much good if we can't get green flag racing going on here. So they're going to be hoping for that, while these guys up front, Landon doesn't mind it. He's just cruising as these laps tick off, and might find himself getting an easy win here tonight if the caution laps keep up. But definitely some strategies changing up here as we near the end of this race, approaching lap 100. And we got some people on fresh tires, like you said. So not sure if there's enough time for them to catch up, but we're going to find out.
Oh, that just threw me off a little bit. Saw that a little bit of acceleration. I was like, oh, wait, restart. Never mind. As they came out of turn 2. But this is a great position right now for Landon Cardulo, though you do have a couple teammates that are going to be right there that can possibly work together around him and maybe make this interesting with that 13, as he gets another great jump from the lead.
Yeah, as my Rev Racing teammate, I love Michael Madden, so just know that, Mike. But I think Sean Jensick has the truck to battle Landon here for this win. He has shown that he has the speed all night long. So I think the battle here is going to be between the 13 and the 29, as the 29 clears the 15. Going to set his sights now on the leader, but we are back under yellow here. Big wrecks.
Johnson again. Saw Bruce Samston. I think that was Troy Techmeyer that I saw as well. Kyle Wimble more damage. Mike Mosby involved, so another pretty decent wreck here with a good amount of drivers once again as they were making their way out of turn 2 on that restart.
Gives us another opportunity to check our Beer Street Journal Rec replay for the 9th caution of the night. See these guys battling Taylor Smith looks like he checks up, and Mike Mosby frantically pulls down the track. And just below him was Kyle Wimble, and they make big-time contact to the inside wall. You see engine damage as the smoke comes out from under the hood. But, yeah, you just saw a slowing 24 just in front of him and kind of just turned down the track to avoid him. And Kyle Wimble, walking his truck up off the turn, they just kind of collide in the middle of the track.
Yeah, turn 2 is a real nervy place you see somebody get loose and nearly spin it but collect it, as Taylor Smith did. But the problem was that Mike Mosby had to cut down inside, but aggressive turns like that and trying to alter that line at the last second coming out of turn 2 just doesn't really work well with the trucks or any other vehicle going around this track. Turn 2 just gets real slick on exit at times, and you can see him just kind of alter that line. Watch the save, though, from Taylor Smith as he drifts it around turn 2. Almost got it overcorrected towards the wall. Does a great job of saving it, but that doesn't really work out for anybody that was behind him. As you see that 99 make his way down and just catch the 3, and they just go head on at the same exact time. And wow, that's actually really synchronized there. As Kyle Wimble, unfortunately, another wreck for him. One of our playoff drivers caught up.
Yeah, you just see how hard it is for everyone behind these incidents to avoid the incident happening in front of them and some other trucks getting involved in that late. But not the night Kyle Wimble was hoping to have by any means. And when you see those guys get loose in front of you and potentially heading towards the wall, you want to try and drop down as low as you can to give them as much room as possible. So I think that's what we saw there with Mike Mosby, not realizing that Kyle Wimble was to his inside. So tough break for those two drivers, as I believe their nights are done with very beat up trucks and engine damage to boot. So believe their evenings will be done tonight, but a valiant effort nonetheless. We still have 9 laps to go in this race, and Landon Cardullo is still pacing the field.
And we're starting to see more separation from our playoff drivers as well. We're down to 6 in the top 10 as the race runs, but a decent gap from Brad Herman, who's currently on the 5th place position among those guys, and Blair Holloman, who's running in the 10th position. So he's going to have a row of trucks between them. But we're really starting to see the gap starting to build just that little bit here in these playoff guys, as right now the top 5 would be Cardullo, Jensick, Madden, Beyer, and Herman as we get ready to go to Talladega next week.
Yeah, that is going to be wild as we head to Talladega for their second race in the round of 10, making up that race from earlier on this year, as SRN was already there for the Xfinity and Cup Series. They had an iRacing update that kind of messed things up on a Wednesday night, and we had to push that race back and fill it in on the off weeks that we already had on the schedule. So they will be in Talladega for playoff racing, and that is going to be one to watch next week. But like I said, we still got a lot to get to tonight, as it has been chaotic under the lights in the desert, looking to see who is going to potentially set themselves up to make a run to that round of 5 in Atlanta.
Not to cut you off, I'm real shocked right now. Landon Cardullo taking the outside and letting teammates line up on the inside.
Yeah, that was a bit of an odd call, as that's going to be able to give the 29 the dog leg here to be able to undercut it a little more. But still, the 13 got such a good restart, not really mattering where he lined up right there. Sets himself up with a good 5-truck car length advantage over the 29, as Brad Rivers now into the top 3. Jonathan Beyer in 4th.
Yeah, Beyer had an amazing restart there, picking up, I believe that's 3 spots before the first lap even ends, as he made his way around Michael Madden, who had a sluggish restart there, coming from 3rd and dropping back to the 5th position. But we got 3 playoff drivers all right on each other as they make their way through 1 and 2 real tight.
Yeah, keep in mind, too, Rev Racing is up against Next Level Motorsports in the Team Championship playoff. We got 4 of the 5 guys in the top 5, so a really tight battle there for the team playoffs as these guys go side by side, clearing Jonathan Beyer. Michael Madden and Brad Herman head down to the dog leg, heading into turn 1, really close to one another. I think the advantage is going to go to the 85, though, as he's showing a lot of speed.
Byer catching the wall hard in turn 1 on entry, and he's got some heavy damage to the right side of that truck, and don't look now, but fresh tires for the 7. Lucas Lyons is now making his way up to the 7th position.
Yeah, showing a lot of speed in that number 7 Silverback Chevy as he is moving up to 7th now, sets his sights on Dave Hughes Jr. just in front of him, running 6th. Not sure if he's going to have the time to get up to the leaders, but he is going to pass a lot of trucks in the meantime. Now up to 6th, sits just behind Michael Madden in the top 5. He could be, hearing from our producer, he just made a good point. If he gets a yellow, he's going to be set up in really good position, which is definitely possible after the night we've had here in Phoenix.
Well, the other thing to think about is that might not necessarily be a move to try to win the race, but to move himself into the top 5 among the playoff drivers as he is right now, 6th in the race, 5th among the playoff 10 still running.
Yeah, that's really what matters. Big picture here. You got to get yourself in good position in these playoffs, and that's exactly what Lucas Lyons is doing. But Michael Madden trying to take a look to the inside of Brad Herman. They get really close. Got to be really careful right there heading into turns 3 and 4. They lay off of each other, but that could have been really bad for both of those drivers with Lucas Lyons sitting just behind them. 2 laps to go here.
Yeah, already down to 2 to go, and that was a great awareness by Brad Herman, feeling that truck of Michael Madden was washing up a little bit. Good job by Madden backing out of it, though both of them are going to fall possibly into the range of being passed by Lucas Lyons as we get ready to take that white flag.
Yeah, you see the white flag is out here in Phoenix. Landon Cardulo out in front, 0.7 of a second ahead of Brad Rivers. In that 69, he's going to try everything he can to catch up to the 13, but really going to take a mistake by Landon to really hand that win over to the 69. Heads down to the last set of turns into turns 3 and 4. Going to cross in that beautiful start-finish line lit up by that cactus. Landon Cardulo is our winner here tonight at Phoenix. You see how excited he is. Brad Rivers coming home in second, and Sean Jensick going to round out the top 3 there.
What a race we just saw. There was a whole lot of strategy. Trouble there at the end of that with Lucas Lyons and Michael Madden. Not sure what happened there. Landon Cardulo getting that win, yet another one here this season, and he did it with a dominant performance there after we got settled in after those early cautions, and it was all 13 after that.
Yeah, this is going to be a good feeling doing some burnouts here in the second round of the playoffs. Landon Cardulo going to come home a winner tonight, has done so multiple times this season in the SRN Truck Series, just still flexing that muscle well in to the playoffs. But next week, he has kind of set himself up to maybe get himself into a little bit of trouble, as you never know what's going to happen into Talladega.
That is the ultimate statement right there. I mean, everything that we just set up here in this race playoff-wise could be completely flipped upside down with one driver just making contact with somebody else and just sparking the big one at Talladega. But as for tonight, we saw a whole lot of chalk when it comes to the playoff drivers with a lot of green inside that top 10.
Yeah, you see 8 of the top 10 playoff drivers, and not really any others in that top 20. So a lot of guys going to have a lot of ground to make up, as you see Landon Cardulo doing a reverse celebration lap, kind of a reverse Polish victory lap. Not sure what you would call that, but very coordinated here, as you see on the screen. But let's go ahead and give you the rundown of our standings here. Landon Cardulo going to come home in first. Bradley Rivers in second, his best finish here in SRN. Sean Jensick going to come home in third. Brad Herman in fourth. And Michael Madden in fifth. And like I said, those two teams, Next Level Motorsports, Rev Racing, battling each other for that $100 team championship prize. 4 of the top 5, 2 each going to those guys.
A strong run for both teams in that matchup. 6th place and 5th among the playoff drivers will be Lucas Lyons. 7th place finish for Dave Fuge Jr. And then 3 more playoff drivers round out the top 10 with Jonathan Byer, Blair Holloman, and Bobby Anderson. They'll be sitting outside of the cut, but still very much within reach of going back inside the top 5.
Yeah, AJ Pritchett coming home in 11th. Josh Mueller in 12th. Kevin Winker in 13th. Stan Carnathan, another good run here in the Truck Series, coming home in 14th. James Kerr coming home in 15th.
16th place will be Taylor Smith. 17th will go to Joseph DuPont. It'll be Rob Yost. In the 18th position, Jack Johnson, last truck, won on the lead lap, I should say, in 19th. And then the first one lap down, will be Sean Kozier, rounding out the top 20.
All right, well, let's go ahead and bring up some of our interviews. Let's go ahead and bring up Sean Jensick coming home in third place tonight. Sean, it's Greg and Brandon up in the booth. Congrats on another podium here in SRN. Tell us about your third place run tonight. Weren't able to get that checker flag, but still a great start to your playoffs.
Yeah, I messed up there when everyone first pitted. So I was trying to play, be the funny guy, play some mind games, and blew right up in my face. But I was found out that I had some long run speed. I came back into the pits when my tank ran out, and I was in second place. So I knew I had clearly the best truck on there in the long run. I was just hoping we could get a little longer of one, but it didn't happen. But I'm not going to complain with third, especially when we got Dega coming up next week.
And, you'll be sitting second in the playoff point standings going into Talladega, but that's going to be the big wild card, obviously. So how do you feel with Talladega being that middle race here in the round of 10?
I'm terrified. I'm kind of just going to play it like I did Daytona, just go hang in the back and just try to bring it home in one piece.
Well, yeah, like you said, Daytona, you won Daytona, so potentially, could be a super speedway ringer for all we know, Sean, but you've got a few wins to your name this season already. 3 wins, coming home with another top 3 here tonight. So great run as always. Looking to move on to the final round of the playoffs. But before we send you back down to celebrate with your teammates, you got any friends, any family, any sponsors you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, first I want to thank all my teammates at Rev Racing, and especially this race, Cody. He had the best run of the season so far, and then ran into some issues there, and he was a big help for myself and Madden there at the end. I'd also like to thank the guys that keep me running, the Long MacArthur, Sparkle and Shine, and Silverback Tax Solutions. And lastly, I'd like to thank you guys up in the booth.
Well, we certainly appreciate that, Sean, and go get them next week at Talladega for the second race of round of 10 action. So best of luck out there, and we look forward to potentially seeing you up here again in the booth.
Thank you, guys. I hope so.
All right. Well, that was Sean Jensick, our third place finisher tonight. But let's go ahead and bring up Bradley Rivers up to the booth after his second place finish tonight. Bradley, it's Greg Olenek and Brandon Domain up in the SRN broadcast booth. Congrats on the runner-up finish. Tell us how you're feeling. That's your best finish this year in SRN.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I'm feeling stoked. I couldn't be any happier, man. The early on wreck kind of really bummed me out, but I came back and actually the green flag runs actually helped me, and it worked out, and I'm happy, man. I'm really happy with P2.
And one of the things I don't think we get to talk about enough is the Tier 2 championship, and this result tonight kind of put you in real contention for that, and obviously missing the playoffs is a disappointment, but how does it feel to have that to run for and really be in contention to get that nod for the Tier 2 title at the end of all the playoffs here as well?
Yeah, just this is another thing to keep grinding towards and never give up, and that's what I always told myself, even after I missed the playoffs, because I know I came late into the season. So if I found that there was a second tier, and I was like, all right, there's something else I got to work towards, and I'm going for that too.
Yeah, kind of great that SRN puts that on for the guys that don't qualify. So looking good over there. But, man, congratulations on a runner-up here tonight at Phoenix. Looking to see you break down the wall and get that first win. But before we send you back down to celebrate with your teammates, you got any friends, any family, any sponsors you want to give a shout out to?
Oh yeah, I give a shout out to TJ's team, Rep Sports, Raise Energy, Michael York, my painter, Mike Kinsley, all those guys, everybody that supports me and just keeps me going and keeps my head up while I'm in the down for a little bit when bad things happen in the race, but these guys keep me going, and the performance shows.
Yeah, it's always important to have those teammates and friends that keep your head up, man. So go have fun celebrating that with them. A great run by Next Level Motorsports tonight, and have a good night, man.
Thanks, guys. You too.
All right, well, that was our runner-up tonight. Bradley Rivers coming home in second place for his best finish on the season. But time to go ahead and grab the winner and bring up Landon Cardulo to the broadcast booth. Our winner tonight, Landon, it's Brandon and Greg up here in the booth. Third win on the season. Tell us how you're feeling, man.
This one, this one's rough. This felt good. A lot better than the other ones, honestly. Even better than my first win. Truck was good all night. It definitely felt like the long run speed was to my advantage. I know with this track and this race, you could either shift or not shift. It's up to the drivers to decide that, and I felt like shifting was the way to go. And that truck was fabulous.
Well, and I think you made a lot of ground, especially once we got to those last restarts. Your restarts are just fantastic all night, and we saw you do it on the inside and the outside, which kind of caught me by surprise, admittedly, when you took the outside. But what was that just the restarts, or did you find something on the longer runs? Like, what was the thing there that really got you to be the dominant truck in the second half of this race?
I don't really know, honestly. I mean, the truck felt like on older tires it was loose, which I like a loose truck, and it wasn't so tight. Maybe getting into the corner it was, but it's a new track. Well, not new, but it's a new update or repave to it, and nobody really knows how to drive it. So I think all of us were kind of just seeing how the race would go, and I know we had some trouble early on, and then we had that good green flag run, but like I said, the truck was phenomenal, and shifting was just helping me at all points.
Well, you've led the most laps than anyone else in the series. You led 51 more tonight, so a great start to your second round of the playoffs, Landon, and we look forward to seeing how you do next week at Talladega. I'm sure you're feeling a little bit better about that now that you got a win under your belt. Kind of gives you some padding, but not too much as we head down to Alabama. But before we let you go, you got any friends, any family, any sponsors you want to give a shout out to?
I want to thank my grandma, grandpa, my aunt and uncle, all my family who's watching right now. I want to thank my girlfriend. A couple sponsors I want to thank. Ghirardelli. They're not on the truck this week because we're doing me and the JBR team are doing a veteran themed paint scheme thing for Veterans Day. But they're here. Get Upside, Shippo, Bolify. They're pretty big with us, and just the JBR team. I know that last restart, I chose the outside to help JB out. I know he didn't finish where he wanted to, but again, it's just I wouldn't be here without the team, and it's just a big team effort.
I'm sure that they appreciate that shout out, man. You guys had a great run, as you usually do, but we're going to go ahead and send you back down to celebrate with the team. Congrats again on another win here at SRN, and we'll see you next week at Talladega.
All right, thank you guys.
All right, that was Landon Cardulo for Jonathan Byer Racing coming home with the checkered flag tonight. That's going to do it for Phoenix, but next week, you see it there. The catch-up 125 at Talladega Super Speedway. Hearing that's because they got to catch up. So, Brandon, what are we chalking that one up to? A bad pun or clever?
So we've got Arby's vodka. We've got catch-up-themed races. This is a night. Oh, my.
We're out here pitching for sponsors or something. We're going to come home with Heinz next week and Arby's there. But we're going to be out at Talladega Super Speedway, like we've been saying, for week 2 action in the round of 10. Catch it next week. That's going to be the only race for SRN next week, as the other 2 series have a 2-week break. They're catching up, as it says. Now I can't say catch up without thinking of the catch-up 125, so appreciate that, Sean. But you can catch that next Wednesday at 9 p.m.
We're catching up before we get the gravy the next week, but
oh my goodness, yeah.
See, I can make Sean feel a little bit better there. So tomorrow night, though, as we move on from that train wreck, is the week 2 for the Xfinity side. Also at Phoenix, as we get to see all us low downforce guys get to take on Phoenix on this new layout. That's going to be very interesting, seeing us go 4 or 5 wide through that dog leg with a whole lot more sliding involved for us.
Yeah, and it's just wild running in the playoffs. I can still be lucky enough to run with these guys. I was the 11th guy in, as you see the round of 11. But, man, it is a different beast when you're in these playoffs. Just the pressure is ramped up, and you're just trying to catch every position that you can to move on to the next round. So, going to be intense action out there for the In the Zona 150 at Phoenix Raceway. Catch it tomorrow, November 11th at 8:30 p.m. Central Time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. But that's going to wrap it up for us. I'm going to go out and get some practice here at Phoenix. I'm sure I'll see Brandon out there too. But that's going to do it for us here tonight. For myself, Brandon, and our producer, Sean Griffith, we wish you a good night and go faster.